Good evening and welcome. This is 40 Days Ministries recap of our documented session number 175. We are recording it for the first time. This was done on November 1st, 2024. We're finally on to the third seal in the sixth installment of the Seven Seal series. Revelation 6, 5 to 6 tell us of the third beautiful creature calling out the third horse and rider. For our sake, I'll do a little reading of it just to bring it up here. I just want to get it on my computer. You can't see it, but I'm reading it. The third seal, Revelation 6, verses 5 and 6. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a black horse, and its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the four living creatures, saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine." Praise and thanks to the Lord for his word. Here, the rider has a pair of scales. There's a voice coming out from the four beautiful ones. And when I read the passage, I see a lot of room for diverse interpretations because visions are not the most clear things right away. A lot of visions were given to confuse the lost for only those who serve the Lord to interpret accurately. Now, some of it that we already researched is clear, but there are parts that we will not understand properly until it becomes history past. It's not yet history past, it's history future. I'll share what the scholars think, but be guided. Much of their interpretations may be wild speculation, and we must beware of well-intentioned speciousness. John is stunned by the horse. We can tell that he was stunned because there's an exclamation for it, and the use of the word behold. Because in the text, behold a black horse, exclamation. That's in the ESV, there's an exclamation, right? These two pieces of evidence are seen in the first horse's appearance as well. So the shock is easy to conclude. He was shocked at the first one because he didn't expect a horse and a rider to come running out at all. He didn't know what to expect. He was not shocked by the second one because, well, he saw the first one, a second one, nothing special. I expected this. So what about this horse shocked or stunned him? The black horse and its representation. For us to understand his shock and his take on it, we'd have to understand what he would think when he saw the black horse. Obviously, we know the cultural context that the white horse meant victory, peace, and purity. So with this knowledge, we need to go and see what Roman cultural context of the time would show us. Using scripture to interpret scripture and historical knowledge, we're going to discover it. Starting with the scholars to see what they found out. Barnes points us to Jeremiah 14:2, which you can see on screen. Judah mourns, and her gates languish. Her people lament on the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem goes up. This here is where the Hebrew for mourn, chadar, reflects the clothes of neglected people that mourn. So Judah mourns. You'd see chadar there. Those clothes of neglected people that mourn would be black. When we look at the interlinear, chadar is used in Jeremiah to refer to black clothes. So John would have taken the black to represent or indicate mourning. So he saw victory, purity, he saw war, and now there's mourning. MacArthur points us to Lamentations 5 and 10. I give you several different translations here. ESV, our skin is hot as an oven, with the burning heat of famine. King James, our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. New King James, our skin is hot as an oven because of the fever of famine. New Living Translation, the famine has blackened our skin as though baked in an oven. The selection of verses I give here do not represent the one-sidedness of the translations. Most of the translations say hot, but they don't say black. They say hot like the ESV. The King James has black. New Living Translation has blackened. But most of the other translations were like the ESV and the New King James, where they say hot. Despite the minority, the fact that some say the skin is blackened by famine, it means something. We need to get the cultural context to fully understand. And when you are studying, this is the ideal way to do it. WakeUpIsraelites.wordpress gives us a nice discussion regarding black versus hot meaning of chamar. The writer leads us to check Lamentations 4, 7, and 8. Her princes were purer than snow, whiter than milk. Their bodies were more ruddy than coral. The beauty of their form was like sapphire. Now their face is blacker than soot. They are not recognized in the streets. Their skin has shriveled on their bones. It has become as dry as wood. That's the best example of the meaning of black that I saw because it's straight from the word and it's allegorical. Black there is used to describe the appearance of people that are suffering. It's obviously nothing to do with skin color because, of course, our racist mentality all over the world, people are always, black, this is bad or good, well, depending on which side of the fence the people are coming from. So the black references here are towards the countenance and state of well-being of the people. The black horse now, back to our original thing, that had the effect on John because the meaning was instantly clear to him. A black horse would symbolize human suffering, gaunt appearances, lack, want, need. And that's why John was stunned. He was, by now, accustomed to seeing horses come out when a seal is broken. This horse had a powerful effect on him, and it stunned him because of what it meant when he saw it. For reference and general knowledge, by the way, when a business is making a loss, on the profit and loss account, it's said to be in the red, where in the red we are making a loss. Our expenses are more than our incomes. When a firm is profitable, we say the firm is in the black. So, references, or people always like to say, black, bad. No, there are times when black represents good things symbolically. So nobody wants to have a business in the red. Everybody wants to have a business in the black. What do the scales in his hand represent? The Greek word for scales there was zugos. Thayer's Greek lexicon says that in this verse, it means pair of scales or a balance. The word is more often used to mean a yoke of slavery or bondage. Thayer's here, though, is clear. In this verse, it's a pair of scales. It's not a yoke of bondage. So it would have been easy for somebody translating it from the original to see the word and think, oh, he's riding out holding a yoke of bondage. Why is the horseman riding out with a pair of scales in his hand? His predecessors had a bow and a sword. Those were weapons. Barnes interprets this as justice, selling food by weight as he identifies it with famine. Barnes also points us to Hosea 12:7, a merchant in whose hands are false balances he loves to oppress. Scales represent exaction and oppression. The preceding verse was an appeal to turn back to God in Hosea. The verses after it, verses 8 and 9, Ephraim has said, but I'm rich. I have found wealth for myself. In all my labors, they cannot find me in iniquity. They cannot find in me iniquity or sin. I am the Lord, your God from the land of Egypt. I will again make you dwell in tents, as in the days of the appointed feast. That may offer further clarification of the example. The references show that the scales show fairness and exactness in dealings, but when people get corrupt, they suffer as a result of misuse of the tools of fairness. This horseman is riding out with scales to show his connection to the marketplaces, and it becomes clear to us when we consider the words that John hears. A literal interpretation of the market voice and my support for the literal. While it's easy to say that the voice was talking to represent general suffering, I like the literal interpretation of the quote, and I support that because of a similar situation when John heard an exact number of 200 million demons in an army in Revelation 9:16. The number of mounted troops was twice 10,000 times 10,000. I heard their number. When we hear specific numbers, it means something. In this case, John heard a number clearly stated. So I take it to be literal. Now, I may be wrong, but I'm clinging to something that people are not bothered about. But I believe genuinely the number, quart, 3 quarts, and the denarius, they were called for a reason. Whose voice is heard? From the wording of John, we can tell it wasn't one of the 4 living beings. Does it mean that it could be a voice from the future that he heard coming out, like a recording being played? I doubt that because nobody buys wheat and barley retail in the present time. The money system of control would not do that either. So there can't theoretically be a recording of the future saying a quart of wheat for a denarius. Add to that, the denarius is not a currency used today. While it's possible for a universal currency to be created and it could be the word denarius used, it's not probable. Someone could speculate that digital currency will be created and it'll be called a denarius. Maybe. It's more likely, though, a voice was said for John's benefit, saying something that he would remember to write in a way he would understand it. So that when he writes it, we would go to it, read it now, and we'd make some sense for our time. Inflation is our next part here. I could not find my original work on the wheat and barley prices because we did that a long time before. So I redid it here. A denarius was the daily wage of a laborer in John's time, according to a site called learn.appmex.com. The site also offered a biblical reference where Matthew 20 verse 2 said, had a situation where a landowner pays a daily worker 1 denarius to workers in a vineyard. In our main text, though, the whole day's pay was required for a quart of wheat, or the whole day's pay, 1 denarius, was required for 3 quarts of barley. Now, how much is a quart of wheat? For our purposes, in terms of food on my plate, how much is a quart of wheat? 1 quart of wheat is 4 cups. That quart of wheat makes 6 cups of flour. 6 cups of flour would make 2 loaves of bread. Now, how could it make more is when they refine it and so on. I guess it puffs up or whatever. I don't know. Effectively, a person will work a whole day to be able to buy wheat to make flour for 2 loaves of bread. Wheat. He didn't buy flour. He didn't buy bread. You're working to buy the wheat to make that. In today's terms, the per capita income of Trinidad, and this was in 2024, per capita income, average income per person was $17,940 US per year. That boils down to $121,669.91 TT. This breaks down to $10,139.16 per month. I brought it down to a monthly thing because we don't really quote our incomes per year, right? Does the average laborer make $10,000? Of course not. Our minimum wage was at that time currently $22.50. If the worker earns $180 per day from the minimum wage, and we tie that to what we're doing, if that is enough to buy 4 cups of wheat, imagine how expensive life will be in the time when this rider is loose, because it will be worse. If the average laborer term is taken to mean per capita income, then 10,030 days, $337 per day. We would work for $337, well, $338, round it up, per day to buy enough wheat to make 2 loaves of bread. That's me taking it as far as I can take it to show you this this black horse rider is going to bring ridiculous inflation. Imagine, guys, you going out working a whole day to buy enough wheat to make 2 loaves of bread. I didn't talk about butter or cheese or sausage. You just buy bread with it. Necessities are going to skyrocket in price. Poor people will not be able to make ends meet. And as we said before, this will fuel more strife. Cooper's Corner for November 1st. Have faith in the Lord. Believe though you do not see him. Believe and be filled with joy unspeakable and eternal salvation. Those of you who are here live, thank you very much for sharing your time with us. Those of you who are looking at our videos on Facebook and or YouTube, thank you as well for sharing in this recording. This was 40 Days Ministries recap and recording of documented session number 175. Our first look at the third seal. We'll finish up the third seal on our next recording if God allows. Thank you very much for being here. God's blessings to you, your home, and goodbye.